of Highland Park, Illinois, November 8th, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia?
Present.
Councilmember Stolberg?
Here.
Councilmember Stone?
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg?
Here.
Councilmember Holloman?
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer?
Here.
Mayor Rotering?
Here, we have a quorum. Everybody please join together for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Steve, do we need to make a comment about the executive order and why we're meeting remotely?
Mayor, we have covered that now in our agenda package, so we alleviated the need for that in the cover page to our agenda. So we've alleviated the need to repeat it. We could if you'd like, but there's no legal obligation.
Okay, I think we're good. We know why we're on Zoom. Get vaccinated, wear a mask. Okay, well, let's move on. I'm seeking a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I don't think there were any minutes in the packet, were there?
Mayor, there are no minutes.
There are no minutes. It's like, didn't seem to be any, but it's on the agenda regardless. Okay, we'll continue on to approval of the warrant list.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia?
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Stone?
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman?
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer?
Aye.
Mayor Rotering?
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and the warrant list is approved. We'll continue on to the report of the mayor. I have no appointments this evening. I have no proclamations this evening. We do have a couple of items under other business. North Shore University Health System Highland Park is going to provide us tonight with an update. We're pleased to welcome Gabrielle Cummings, president of Highland Park Hospital, and board certified internist, Dr. Greg Wallman, for joining us this evening to share information and answer frequently asked questions regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. The city of Highland Park truly values its partnership with Highland Park Hospital, and this partnership has increased since the onset of the pandemic, as the hospital is a vital resource and strong collaborator with the city and sister governments serving Highland Park residents. We greatly appreciate their commitment to protecting the health of our community. And first, I'd like to welcome and invite Gabrielle to share an update on operations and healthcare matters, and then we'll turn to Dr. Wallman for a discussion of the COVID-19 vaccine. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Rotering and the City Council. I hope everyone's doing well this evening. Geeta, can I show slides, or would you all prefer me just to talk through them?
You're welcome to share slides.
Okay. I just have a couple of slides.
I made you a co-host just to make sure.
Okay. Can you see the slides?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. I'll try one more thing, and if not, then I will just. Okay. All right, so I wanted to just share take a couple of minutes to share with you all some activities happening at Highland Park Hospital, and then I'll hand it over to Dr. Wallman to give you an update on what's really a hot topic around COVID-19 and the vaccination. All of my presentations, I would say this year and for the previous several months, have to do with the pandemic. What have we been doing in healthcare before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and post-pandemic? And I would share with you all that the items listed here are activities that were on our radar screen as a healthcare organization before the pandemic, but we became acutely more aware of these as we were in the middle of the pandemic. The first focuses on social determinants of health and health and well-being. So this is the concept of health equity, ensuring that the patients in our communities of all races, ethnicities, socioeconomic status have the appropriate access to healthcare, and being aware that the healthcare market that we've created needs to be accessible to all that are involved in it. We've absolutely seen an increase in patient acuity with so many people not coming into the hospitals due to COVID, and understandably so. We've seen a shift in patients being sicker as they've come into our facilities which has required us to really adjust and make sure that we have improved and really strong access for our patients. We've seen, and Dr. Wallman, I'm sure can speak to this, we've seen an amazing increase in the number of virtual care visits that we're doing. We're doing lots of telecare, telehealth visits within North Shore, as well as in the healthcare industry, as well as realizing that we need to personalize medicine. So instead of thinking that one size fits all for healthcare, we now realize that we need to really personalize the medicine and the delivery of healthcare to the patients that we're serving. We are experiencing, like many industries across the country and quite frankly the world, workforce instability. This is driven by a couple of things for us. The first being, before the pandemic, we were seeing an aging of our workforce, where many nurses, doctors, other clinicians were reaching a stage in their lives where they were ready to retire. And that hit us right in the middle of the pandemic, and also have several healthcare members that are tired and that have decided that being part of healthcare is not what they want to do anymore. They want to refocus their efforts on different journeys. And so that's created a significant number of vacancies and has created instability in our workforce, thereby limiting access to healthcare in some ways. Obviously, in our EDs and our Women's Health Pavilion, those areas are not ever closed. And so we've been able to make sure we can keep the operation moving for those areas. Immediate care access is obviously being able to go to something like an urgent care if you don't have a need as acute as an ED. And then there are lots of merger acquisitions and partnerships happening. One's happening in our own organization. North Shore University Health System is in a pending merger with Edward Elmhurst that will be set to close in January of next year. So what are we doing to really combat and respond to our community in terms of the COVID pandemic, but also making sure that we're being a good healthcare partner? In the upper left-hand box, you'll see that we really are focusing on healthcare equity and inclusion. I am one of the co-directors of health equity for all of North Shore, and we've been hosting a lot of focus groups in our communities to make sure that we are understanding, learning, and shifting our focus to include all groups of health patients in our community. The upper right, we launched in the middle of the COVID year a mental health first aid training session, which is equipping people in our community to identify and address healthcare crises. And we had outstanding response for this, so much so that we were asked to host a handful of other sessions for individuals interested in getting mental health first aid training. The picture in the bottom left is Dr. Lakshmi Halasiamani, who is our Chief Medical Officer. She does weekly Facebook checkups as well as community updates to make sure people are aware of the happenings around COVID-19. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we continue to be active partners with our community to roll out the COVID vaccine, as well as talk about prevention and what you can do to make sure that you stop the spread of COVID. Most importantly, that you get your vaccination. So hopefully everyone watching and on the video are vaccinated. If not, North Shore has plenty of availability for the vaccine. We're rolling into booster season now. We're really excited to hear that we've received approval to vaccinate children between the ages of 5 and 11. Dr. Wallman can correct me if I'm wrong, but we now have the ability to vaccinate people from the ages of 5 up to 105. So very excited about that and want to make sure we continue to support our communities in getting vaccinated. We also have a lot of collaborations with educational institutions so that we can promote equity in healthcare. I won't go through all of these, but one of the programs I'm really excited about is our Medical Assistant Pathway Program. That's a partnership with Malcolm X College in the Chicago area. But we have a relationship where we are reaching into communities that are underserved to help expose youth to medical assistant programs where they can come into the organization, become a medical assistant, and get introduced to healthcare careers in a way that they've never been introduced before. We also have launched a mini medical school for high school students that's based out of our Swedish campus. And also we have a connection with the Medical Organization for Latino Advancement. So locally at Highland Park Hospital, I'm really excited to share, and I think most people know this, that in October of last year, we launched a formal partnership with Erie Family Health in Waukegan to shift all of their deliveries from another hospital to Highland Park Hospital. Last year, we delivered over 200 new babies and helped moms and dads bring 200 new lives into the world. It has been a really wonderful partnership, and it's been great to see Highland Park Hospital be able to support our community in a different way to make sure that people of all walks of life have access to outstanding health care and bringing their loved ones and their new babies into the world. And last but not least, I just want to make sure that you all know we appreciate your support and all of the love that you've shown us as a community over the past couple of years. We are here to take care of you always and forever. Hopefully we don't have to, but if we do, we want you to know that you have a great healthcare partner in your backyard. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Wallman to talk about COVID-19 and the vaccine.
Great. Thank you so much. Dr.
Okay,
Wallman.
well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. As was previously mentioned, I am a Highland Park resident. I have a senior in high school and then a 8th grader at Edgewood. And I was contacted by North Shore to work as a health ambassador for the community. So that's one of my roles. I'm also a practicing internal medicine physician in Glenview at Covenant Medical Group, and I was the previous president of the medical staff at North Shore. I also do a bunch of different roles through North Shore as far as maintaining the integration of affiliate physicians. So I appreciate the opportunity. And as far as I have 3 different topics to talk about around the vaccine. I'm happy to answer any questions in addition to that or around COVID or anything else. So I don't have any slides, but the 3 items I'm going to talk about are the vaccine, COVID vaccine, and fertility and the safety of the vaccine, the concerns about how fast, quote unquote, in which the vaccines were produced and allowed to be given, and then finally the information on the vaccination for kids. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start. And this is constantly changing, but as far as the fertility goes, there has been a bunch of studies that show that the vaccine is safe. There are 3 particular studies that were presented to the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, which is basically a group of fertility doctors that talk about the pros and cons of all the different treatments. And this COVID vaccine did not show any issues with fertility, and it didn't show any problems with early pregnancy outcomes or sperm quality as well. It's a little difficult to test pregnant women, so the fertility doctors did use the embryos that were used for in vitro to try to figure out if there was any issues. They were able to look at these embryos that were undergoing in vitro fertilization and treatments, and there was no change in pregnancy rates and pregnancy loss for patients that were immunized against COVID. There was also a study at University of Chicago, close to us, that shows that embryos that were studied at IVF, so no change in likelihood to produce embryos after exposure to vaccine. So this is a good study to show that giving the vaccine does not affect pregnancy at that time. Also, there was a study at University of Miami that showed there was no change in sperm count in men. Another study, I mean, I hate to give you numbers, but the science is what's important, in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is pretty much the standard when it comes to medical journals. They had actually 35,000 patients who were studied, and these were ages 16 to 54 that were identified as pregnant. And the only thing that they showed in these pregnant women that was higher was that the injection sites of where they got the vaccine was a little bit higher than people that weren't pregnant. But the side effects of headaches, chills, fevers were less in pregnant people as opposed to non-pregnant. There was no issues of any safety issues, safety signals in vaccinated patients. And there is the big issue here is that the risk of getting COVID if you're pregnant compared to getting the vaccine. And you're more likely to have problems with the COVID virus if you're pregnant versus being vaccinated. So that's another huge point. And there are, a bunch of different medical committees and colleges that have agreed that getting vaccinated when pregnant is very important. As time has gone on, as of August 2021, this has been recommended by the CDC that pregnant patients should get the vaccine. And also back in October, it was recommended that boosters were given that were recommended, as Gabrielle said, for pregnant people as well. And there is the possibility for getting the mix and match. As it turns out, the additional Moderna and Pfizer patients who got vaccinated showed about the same improvement in the reduction of COVID in pregnant people. But like I said before, pregnant people are at higher risk of getting having morbidity or dying from COVID versus getting the vaccine. So that I'm not a gynecologist. I'm not someone who specializes in women's health, but this is what we're recommending as far as the pregnant women getting vaccinated. As far as the second topic was the speed of approval, there's a lot of people, patients, news media that are saying that this vaccine was rushed. Speaking to that point, these vaccines were developed quickly, yes, but this has been secondary to much research that's been on other viruses. And that's why it was able to be manufactured so frequently and so quickly, sorry. There's also been a lot of funding, personal and government, to allow firms to run these multiple trials to allow these vaccines to be approved and to prove their safety. This research didn't just start in January when the vaccine was approved. This has been done for years on the SARS virus, which is the bird flu, and the MERS virus, which is the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. So these viruses have been investigated in the past in conjunction with the COVID vaccine in order to develop the vaccine. So a little science, I don't mean to get too technical, but I think this is important. But this virus is an mRNA virus, and the vaccine it's an mRNA vaccine. So when that gets injected into your body, the body reacts by producing a protein. And this protein is recognized as foreign to the body, and that's called an antigen, which triggers the immune response. Once this immune response is established, this vaccine prevents the spike protein, if you're infected by the COVID virus, to introducing it to the cells, therefore preventing significant morbidity, mortality from the vaccine. Can you get the virus? Absolutely. Are you going to have less severe of a case? Yes, that's true. These RNA vaccines, like I said, have benefited for over 15 years of research. And actually, a lot of the researchers are using this type of vaccine to actually develop cancer vaccines. The problem or the issue when we're testing vaccines is getting people to volunteer for these studies. However, with the pandemic, with the amount of lives that were lost, people step up to the plate. And there was multiple billions that were put into this process to develop this testing. With the large amount of money that was available for the vaccine firms, as well as the public funding, we were able to perform preclinical and then phase trials as well. Believe it or not, there were over 43,000 volunteers that volunteered for this vaccine, and that took 16 weeks to develop. The FDA rushed this vaccine to the front line because the death toll was rising. Believe it or not, Pfizer took 21 days and Moderna took 19 days for emergency use. So what does that emergency use mean? It means the benefits outweigh the risks, and that's why they were approved. As far as overall, how did this all happen? A few different reasons why this happened so quickly. Number one, we had a smart head start because these coronaviruses have been studied for over 50 years. Number two is there's been over 10 years of research in the mRNA vaccine. Number three, like we said, there were multiple participants who volunteered for the clinical trials. The other thing that was interesting was the government used building facilities that were already established for other areas to use to produce this vaccine. And there we used multiple trials to get this going quickly. And then it was expedited review very quickly. So overall, the risk is not nearly as significant as the reward. So as you can see, even though this was done quickly, it was done thoughtfully and it was done scientifically, which is really good. So that's the story with the quote unquote speed of the formation of the vaccine. Just to wrap up here, a few words about the vaccination for children. When I was asked to sort of prepare this, the vaccine wasn't approved for kids, and now it is. And what we found is that November 2nd, the beginning of this month, the CDC director recommended vaccines for Pfizer between ages 5 to 11. And these CDC advisors voted 14-0 in favor of getting this child-sized dose of the vaccine. At this point, or as of a couple of weeks ago, 78% of Americans 12 and older had gotten at least one shot. And believe it or not, 745 kids and teens less than 18 have died from COVID. Children have accounted for 25% of the new cases as of the end of October 2021. As a result of this, the FDA authorized on 1029 emergency authorization due to some clinical trials that were done. This is for kids. The Pfizer clinical trial showed a 90.7% protection of a lower dose of this vaccine. And that's the big issue, is what dose do we give smaller people as of kids? So what we're finding is that this dose is about the third dose. So we call it micrograms. So it's 10 micrograms compared to 30 micrograms, which is the dose that's given. And in all these trials, only about 6% of kids had fevers compared to 18% of people 16 to 25 years old. And like I said, I mean, this pandemic, 1.9 million COVID cases among children 5 to 11 years old. There have been rare cases of myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart muscles, in teens and adults receiving the higher dose of the vaccine. So there wasn't any sign of this in the lower dose vaccination delivery. There's been no cases in the 3,000 kids that were studied, 5 to 11 years old. The biggest issue with this with kids is that, yes, the kids are, of course, important, but you got to figure 140,000 kids have lost their caregivers due to COVID, due to mental issues, due to the closures of schools. So the sooner we can get this stuff online, then it's going to be very beneficial. We have, in addition to the mild to moderate illness, there's been very few reactions to the COVID with a multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which is the long haulers. And this can lead to significant problems as well. And Pfizer continues to study even a smaller dose for kids 2 to 5 years old, and then kids 6 months to 2 years old. And then Moderna announced the end of October that they're working on a trial as well for 6 to 11 years old as well. The idea overall is that this vaccine is actually a little bit different and actually a little bit safer than some of the vaccines we give our kids already, because the MMR, the measles, mumps, rubella, and the chickenpox vaccine actually uses a weakened forms of the live virus, which this coronavirus vaccine does not. And the diphtheria or the Tdap, that has an altered form of bacteria. And believe it or not, the hepatitis has a yeast that's developed too. So overall, this vaccine is safe for kids. It's been studied, and it's really important going forward. So overall, I mean, as Gabrielle said, I mean, this is a widespread, obviously, pandemic problem. And as time has gone on, hopefully this information that I'm giving you and information you can get from your primary care doctor, pediatrician, OB-GYN will allow to improve vaccine hesitancy. But as far as I can recommend at this point, I think it's really important that everyone gets vaccinated. So, I mean, I'm sorry if I'm talking fast. I just wanted to get everything in. But those are those three topics that I was asked to talk about. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to come back at a further time to talk about anything else. So thank you.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Gabrielle. Really appreciate. It is such a comfort to have you as a resource in our community, and we are so appreciative of the incredible efforts that have been made since this began, and frankly, since the hospital was created for the last pandemic. So want to just thank you all for everything you've done. Are there any questions for either of these two wonderful people from Highland Park Hospital? Kim.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all that information. That's so helpful. I'm wondering, it's actually a question for Gita, whether the city can post Dr. Wellman's presentation in some way to get that information to a wider audience.
Yes, great question, Councilmember Stone. So we are on Facebook Live right now, and we will include highlights of their presentation in our e-news tomorrow, as well as a link to this video. And yes, we will direct people to their presentation as well.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thank you. And I was at Braeside today for their National Blue Ribbon Award ceremony, and the superintendent of 112 was talking about efforts to make sure the vaccine's available as much as possible for the students in our K-8 schools. So I suspect there's a partnership going on there, and just want to thank you. Andres.
Gabrielle, thank you for the presentation. And you made reference to reaching out to our minority communities. Is there any things you can share about some of the things that we as a city council should be aware about the needs of our Latino and African American communities as they are showing up with greater acuity, as you had talked about the population in general doing that as well, but any insights there that would be helpful for us to be aware of?
Sure. So the high level insights that I think of are one, just education and communication. And by education, I mean making sure that all community members, but specifically focused on Black and Brown communities, are aware of the different nuances. And I'm speaking specifically on healthcare, of the importance of a variety of different healthcare factors. Healthy eating, access to good healthcare, knowing that they have a great hospital in their backyard along with medical group offices that are available to them to have their primary care visits and to also care for adults and children. I do think, unfortunately, our country has had quite a tenuous history with the Black and Brown community. And so that's why I say communication, education, exposing all community members to the benefits of being a part of the health, coming to get your health care within North Shore, in any healthcare organization in Lake County, but getting health care so that you can understand your blood glucose levels. And Dr. Wallman, I'm probably getting into some clinical areas here, but understanding the importance of having heart health, of doing breast cancer screenings and those types of things. So those are kind of broad brushstrokes of areas I would recommend. And we have a new director of health equity, Brandon Buchanan, who's done a lot of work in connecting with community members in Lake County to understand what can we do better within North Shore to help educate all members of our community, but a specific focus on learning and hearing from the Black and Brown communities in Lake County so that we can adjust our care platforms to support all individuals appropriately.
And then one follow-up question, what can we tell the Brown and Black communities in our area about what they can expect when they come for service in terms of addressing their particular cultural needs?
So, council member, I think it's highly variable in terms of what we can tell them to expect. They can expect first and foremost, first-rate healthcare. If they come into any of our facilities in the ED or into women's health or into our immediate care, they will receive care that is respectful, that is customized to them. They'll have healthcare providers that listen and care and will help to get them set up for the best level of care possible. So that's what they should expect. It's obviously, depending upon what they come into the hospital with or what physician office they go to, what they can expect will change. But I will say they should expect to be treated with respect and compassion, and to feel comfortable asking questions, having an engaging dialogue with the providers that are in their backyard.
Thank you.
Gabriel, do you want to talk at all about the partnership with Phoenix or the collaboration with Phoenix?
So, sure, Mayor Roedinger, are you referring to the Phoenix Clinic and just so we've had a long-standing partnership with the Phoenix Clinic, which is just up the road from Highland Park Hospital. We do a lot of support for that facility, in addition to Erie, Waukegan, to make sure that if there's a higher level of care needed, that patients can come from Phoenix to North Shore for X-ray or radiological testing or lab testing. So we have a really dynamic relationship with the physician leader at Phoenix, as well as being really a conduit of care and really making sure that patients have next steps for the continuum of care, from being seen in the office to needing possibly procedural activity, whether it be surgery, delivering a baby, or heart care, that we're in the backyard and supporting the Phoenix Clinic. And we've also provided some financial support to Phoenix, just given our close relationship and our investment and our belief in the importance of Phoenix in the neighborhood.
Terrific. Thank you. Any other questions?
Mayor, I also wanted to just recognize Hania Fuchetto, who has joined us as well from North Shore University. She oversees community relations for the health system.
Absolutely. Welcome, Hania. Thank you for joining us, all of you, and thank you for all the good care you bring to every member of our community. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks. For more information about the safety and efficacy of the COVID vaccine, please go to cdc.gov/coronavirus. Thank you. Okay, continuing on with the report of the mayor. On Friday, November 5th, the House of Representatives passed a landmark bipartisan piece of legislation that addresses some of our most critical needs and highest priorities as a nation, investing much needed funds into major transportation and utility projects such as modernization and repairs to roads, bridges, ports, and airports, and increased broadband access. In addition, the act includes a number of measures to tackle the climate crisis. These measures include an unprecedented investment in emissions reductions, support for green, electric, public, and private transit, expanded access to clean water, remediation of legacy pollution sites, and a long-term investment in protection against drought, heat, and flooding that many communities have experienced firsthand as a consequence of climate change. Passing a bipartisan bill aimed at improving and advancing our nation's most critical public services has long been a challenge for lawmakers, and we applaud our representatives in Washington who, with the leadership of President Biden, worked together with colleagues across the aisle in both the House and the Senate to secure passage of this important legislation. The funding our state receives from this bill, estimated at $17 billion with a B, with the prospect of additional competitive grant funding, will be used to improve public infrastructure and services we all use each and every day. We look forward to continuing to work with our leaders in Springfield to bring these major life safety and quality of life improvements to Highland Park and to the entire state. It is a thing of beauty. I also want to invite everyone this week to join us Thursday, November 11th at 11 a.m. for the city's annual Veterans Day observance. The event will be hosted virtually in consideration of the ongoing pandemic and the risks posed to the elders of our community, who are, of course, important contributors to this event. A Zoom link is available on the city's website, www.cityhpil.com. Representatives from the American Legion Post 145 and Jewish War Veterans Post 29 will participate, along with the City of Highland Park Police Department Honor Guard. And we're really pleased to recognize Highland Park Police Officer Richard Moritz as our hero among us for his service with the U.S. Marine Corps. And the program will also include remarks from elected officials who serve our community, as well as a performance by the talented musicians of the Highland Park High School Band and Choir. The Highland Park Public Library will welcome visitors who would prefer to view the virtual event at the library on Thursday. Librarians will be able to assist you with computer access, and registration is not required. So stay tuned for that. I believe it will also be on our Facebook page, if I remember correctly. Looking forward to seeing everyone virtually on the 11th. That is it for tonight's report from the mayor. The next item is business from the public. This is for citizens wishing to be heard regarding items not listed on tonight's agenda. Do we have any members of the public who wish to be heard on items not listed on tonight's agenda?
Hello, Mayor. So thank you for everyone who is watching this meeting or joining us. Individuals can email us at cityhp@cityhpil.com if they'd like any comments or questions read into the record. And we have not received any emails at this time. We have staff at City Hall, and City Hall is open to the public, so people can watch this virtual meeting in our council chambers. But there are no members from the public that have joined us this evening. And at this time, we will invite anyone from the public. If you'd like to raise your virtual hand, we can call on you if you'd like to make any comments or ask questions. And Mayor, I don't see any hands raised.
Okey-doke, thank you. Okay, we will continue on then to our scheduled business. Items 1 through 28 are grouped together for omnibus vote consideration. I'm seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 28. I believe we are pulling item 28, and somebody wanted to pull item 23. Councilmember Stone.
Can I pull items 21 through 23? There's an error that needs to be corrected.
Okay, so items 21 through 23 and item.
And is it 20? I'm sorry, is it 27 or 28 that's being pulled?
Well, there sadly was some confusion today on our minute track, but it is item
28, the Lexipol agreement.
Item 28, an ordinance waiving the formal bidding regarding Lexipol. It is 28. The packet was reposted, I believe, at 4 or 3.
Just for the record, and we'll say all these items were on the agenda last Thursday. We had just moved one item onto Omnibus because it had a positive recommendation from the Plan and Design Commission. So there were always all of these items on the agenda since last Thursday. It's just the reposting reconfigured the numbers.
And we've had a conversation to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So Councilmember Stone, I know you wanted to pull the item concerning Lexipol.
I did, but I just wanted to verify then, I had that as 27 on my agenda. So are you saying now, Gita, that 27 is the personal training?
No, 25.
28 is Lexipol.
So for some reason, if you pull down the agenda as posted, just the agenda download, personal training is number 25.
Okay.
And Lexipol is number 28.
So I had a question about personal training, and I wanted to just make a statement about item number 15 as well, assuming that 15 is what I think it is, which is renewal of the routine tree pruning contract.
Okay, so let's go through this.
I was going to say, we don't need to pull an item for you to make a comment on it, though.
That's true.
No, we don't.
All right, so why don't we do this? You have a comment on 15. Corporation Counsel, we need a motion before we comment.
Do you want me to make the motion? You want me to make the motion and then you guys can go through and
You know what?
comment?
Let's
And
make a motion for 1 through 28 and then we can have at it. That would be awesome.
Well, but subtracting 21 through 24, right, the blue and Waukegan.
Okay, so throw me a bone here, Councilmember Stone. You want 1 through 20? Why don't we try that? And then we'll pick up from there.
Okay, thank you.
So right now,
So
I'm saying
moved.
to approve items 1 through 20.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, now, you had a comment on 15?
Yes, number 15 has a 5.9% cost increase on the renewal. That's the largest increase of any of the contracts that are being renewed in this agenda. So I just wanted to ask that we rebid this next year.
Yes, and I did talk to Director Canapretti earlier today, and so we will confirm we will do that, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table for items 1 through 20. Any further comments? Any from the public? None from the public, City Manager?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, will the clerk please call the vote on 1 through 20?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, 1 through 20 are approved. Items 21, 22, and 23, and 24. Councilmember Stone, you had a question?
There's one question and there's one error in the documents. So it appears that the applicant inadvertently transposed the rents for the affordable units in the final application on the housing plan. And that is an attachment to more than one of these items. So I would like to move to approve it, but to correct the transposition of the rents between the 0 to 50% AMI income tier and the 80 to 120% AMI income tier in the inclusionary plan, which is item 22, Exhibit O, page 2, and it's also Exhibit F of the development agreement. And then the one.
I'm so sorry. And if I could just add to that, the rents certainly must be compliant with city code. And so regardless if the applicant has the incorrect information in their application, they will be required to adhere to the city's code. And just for the record, so where they had transposed the numbers is on Exhibit O and Exhibit F.
Great, and thank you for noting that, Councilmember Stone.
Sure.
Mayor, you can take 22 through 24 together in omnibus if a motion wants to be made, if someone wants to make a motion with the corrected attachments.
I believe Councilmember Bloomberg also had something he wanted to state regarding 23 before we take the motion.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There was a question about the compliance with our lighting code. I've been assured by staff that staff will make sure that this does comply with our lighting code, even though that's not expressed. That certainly is within community development's purview as staff, and I'm satisfied with that. So with that in mind, I think Council Member Stone already moved to approve these with the financial correction, and I would second that.
So this is items 21 through 24, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I add a stipulation that the staff confirm that the lighting plan and the fixtures are dark skies compliant as required by the code?
I think that was Councilmember Bloomberg's point, and we expect all developments to follow the city code.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Will the clerk please call the vote on items 21 through 24?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer. Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and items 21 through 24 have been approved. Items 25, 26, 7, and 27, I had a question. In looking through sub-item A, I didn't see values and the attachment of Exhibit A, and I don't have the minute track pulled up. And maybe somebody can just confirm for me that the dollar amounts are listed somewhere in the documentation. Or you can tell me that you're going to follow up and let us know as we move ahead.
Yeah. Can you just clarify what you mean by values? The values of.
There weren't blanks.
They're blanks, right? And there's no Exhibit A that provides. Sorry, now I have to go into the whole thing. I apologize for the delay.
Can you just tell me what item that is?
It's the fire station.
Okay, thank
The
you.
fire station, item 27.
Yeah, I thought
So
those,
yeah, just for clarification. So, well, on Corporation Council, if you could jump into just to assist us as we certainly worked with Elrod Friedman in reviewing these.
Right.
So these are the documents. We have not gone out to bid yet. So in terms of all the pricing, we don't have all the firm pricing right now of what the bids will be. So we have locked in the pricing for construction management services.
Attachments are exhibits. They'll be filled in when those exhibits are implemented, but they're just exhibits to the doc. The agreement itself has no, that you're approved, that's on the agenda for approval, has no blanks in it.
Okay, so I was just looking at sub A and then clicking on that, and it was referencing Exhibit A. And so we were, I thought, approving sub A, but without values, it seemed like I needed to raise the question. But if we're getting to that point, and this is just to show us the template for what will be coming to us, then I'm fine with it. It sounds like we are. Okay.
Yes.
So, thanks. All right. So now we are seeking a motion to approve items 25, 26, 27. That's it for the moment. Is there a motion on 3? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote on 25, 26, and 27?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
I'm sorry, I just have to confirm that these are the same 25, 26, and 27 that I have because of the confusion with the agenda.
The
Is this-
25 is the personal training
Dispatch?
med spa, 26 is dispatch, and 27 is the fire station.
Aye, thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, 25, 26, and 27 have been approved. 28, an ordinance waiving the formal bidding requirements of the city's purchasing manual and approving an agreement with Lexipol LLC for police training and Policy Implementation Services. Councilmember Stone, you raised questions. Councilmember Bloomberg, you raised questions. I have questions. Why don't we start with Councilmember Stone? And City Manager, I let the police chief know that we would be having this conversation. You may want to make him a panelist. There he is. Thank you. So we can have the dialogue that's necessary regarding this issue.
Thank you. My question on this item was about hiring a private for-profit contractor to help write police policy. I understand that this is something that we don't necessarily have the capacity to do within the police department. I understand there don't seem to be a lot of other or any other organizations that do this sort of work. But I'm concerned about having a private contractor do this. I've read a little bit about this contractor, and I have some concerns about whether their policies will conform with the philosophy of the City of Highland Park and Highland Park's police department and elected officials here. So I wanted to get a little more information about that.
Thank you. You know what? I would love to hear from each of the council members, and then let's commence the dialogue if that makes sense. And I'll just share, that I greatly appreciate the chiefs and the department's dedication to community policing and to working with the NAACP for many years to make sure that we are absolutely committed to a fair and transparent application of the law and our procedures. And so, Chief, I just want to make sure that we have that context as we continue through this conversation. Councilmember Bloomberg and then Councilmember Holloman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start by echoing my appreciation of your recounting the commitment of Chief Jogman and the police department to implementing not only our policies that are expressed by the council, but community values, which has been really terrific. I think our police department is peerless in that regard. At a time when policing has become very complicated and difficult, they've really stood out as holding those kinds of values and policies at the forefront of law enforcement. And it is not my concern with the police department that I expressed any concerns. It's my concern with a private organization attempting to write police training and policy implementation directions, which is a little unusual. We don't have that with other departments. And so with that concern and the concerns that have generally been expressed about policing across the country, the main issue is one of transparency in the operation of that private organization, having nothing to do with the police department. I want assurances, and I think I have those assurances from staff, that as this organization engages in this contractual work, that their work product that touches on our policy is subject to review by the city council. It also, as I understand it, will be posted on the website, as we have already done. And I find that reassuring, because the critical issue here is one of transparency. So as long as we have that, I'm willing to go into this direction of having a private organization do this, understanding that the kinds of laws and implementation of new policing procedures that are coming out of Springfield are voluminous and complicated and overwhelming for staff, and that they need this help. So I recognize that, knowing that we have a police department that is so committed to our policies and our values, as long as we have that transparency, I'm comfortable with this.
Thank you. Councilmember Holloman.
Yeah, I want to just state that I think this is a tool for our staff. I don't think this is replacing anything. This is giving our staff a way of interpreting and understanding. Just like you said, Tony, there's a lot of information coming out of Springfield, and tracking that and making sure we stay compliant is key. So I feel like what this is doing is giving staff a tool. Remember, we still set the policy, right? They are getting updates and information that if there is a need to change policy, that's still coming directly to us. You know, am I correct? Like, we're not changing policy here. This is a tool for tracking required updates and information, and for staying on top of current practice. So there is no other tool that they can use. The question's been asked, is my understanding. All of our surrounding communities use this and use it for its tracking purpose. It's not meant to be a policy, designing, to create policies on the fly. It's supposed to give our department and our city up-to-date information so that we can then take that information back and make sure our policies are compliant. So I'm fully in support of this, and I support the staff for recognizing what is a weakness, right? That we have the potential to not have enough information, and for finding a source for doing that. Fully supportive. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Littlewer.
I have to say, I went through this very carefully, and when I did not read it as a policy type of device either. And after hearing of concerns of fellow council members, I went back and checked it. I do see where it could be taken that way, but that is still not my reading of it. It appears that this is more of a device to ensure that any types of requirements that are coming up, we are in compliance with, and that we then make our policy or have to come up with our policy to ensure that we are compliant. But I really read this as much more of a ministerial type of contract initially. I wanted to thank my council members for making me take a second look to make sure that I was comfortable with it. And I have to say that I am, after going back through it a second time. So I also think between the cost savings and the mutuality between other cities, there are so many requirements, I believe, that are being foisted upon us. I don't want to say that they're unfunded mandates, because I don't even know that at this point, but it does seem that we need a service to go through this on an ongoing month-to-month basis to ensure that we are compliant. And then we have to draft up and make sure that we have met the requirements that are necessary. So my reading was much closer to Councilmember Holloman's, but I did go back and double check it, and I thank our other council members for raising it as a concern, because if it was policy, I would have a significant problem.
And Mayor, if I could maybe just clarify, just to ensure we are all on the same page. So it really covers everything that everyone has talked about. So it is policies, it's procedures, it's training requirements. So as you know, especially with new crime reform legislation, that much of it goes into effect January 1, 2022, there are a myriad of different requirements that law enforcement agencies have to comply with. And so having a subscription membership service like Lexipol will help ensure that Highland Park and their other subscribers are aware of the requirements, policies, procedures that have to be implemented. And then based on Supreme Court decisions and best practices nationwide, they will provide us with information. Now that review process gets shared. We'll have our staff in the police department as that first level of review. Any procedure, for example, or new training requirement, that goes through the review of the entire command team, chief of police, and then it comes to my office. I review that. And I totally understand. I talked to Council Member Bloomberg earlier, and then certainly I will keep the City Council apprised of everything that's coming before us. And if you like, we can certainly place it on a City Council agenda too. And we will update and continue to post updated general orders, new orders on our website as well for public information. We're one of the few municipalities that do have all of our general orders that the police department is required to adhere to posted on the city's website. We will certainly continue to do that as well.
Great, thank you. And I think it's important to highlight, Geeta, you serve on the state's Commission for Police Training and Education. What's the official title of that commission?
Yeah, it's Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Boards.
Right. And I'm on the Northwest Municipal Conference Executive Committee and the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. So we're following legislation. This is all driven from this important work that's being done around community policing and reform under the SAFE-T Act. If you're interested in getting the context for what's coming, there's just a broad range of provisions. We have summaries available if people are interested. Councilmember Tapia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just to weigh in, in the business world, there's comparable services for all kinds of things, HR policies, benefits, 401k, because companies can't keep up with all the change in regulations. And so these services have been very valuable to do exactly what Gita and Chief Jogman have talked would do. And I think that, in 95% of the time, it's pro forma, just make sure you're, abiding by the law, and this is the regulation, and it's not controversial. And then there's those items that get flagged, like, well, this is a choice. This is kind of, you can go this way or this way. And the service provides the options, provides the pros and cons. And then the decision makers, in this case, Chief Jogman and Gita and eventually City Council, then have the debate about which way we want to go philosophically. But the service is very, takes up a huge burden away from the staff to address that 95% that really is just making sure we're keeping up with all the changes in regulation. And we have room to debate and discuss that 5% or whatever that number is, where there's true policy decisions that have to be weighed and debated.
Right. We know this from the work that is being done in community development and the assistance that we receive from third parties there as well. And again, I just want to highlight and express gratitude to Chief Jogman and his team for their dedication to transparent and community-based policing. Councilmember Bloomberg, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not sure that we need to have stuff automatically come in front of the city council. My understanding is that as a procedure, as this work is accomplished, Gita is going to distribute the changes or recommendations to us. And then at that point, if somebody sees something with which they are uncomfortable, we would speak about having that reviewed in a public manner. But I do feel that part of our job as elected officials is to make sure that our policies are implemented. And because we're dealing with an outside agency, we should at least have that preliminary opportunity to vet it. Does that need to be included as a part of the motion, or is that just a procedural matter that automatically is going to be taken care of?
It's procedural, and I assure you we will follow up on it. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And thank you to the chief. And I think it was Ashley who was responsible for posting all of the orders on the city's website. So the public can also keep an eye on what's coming and what's changing and where things are moving directions. And I suspect that people will be comforted by knowing that they can access it publicly. So with all of that being said, I'm seeking a motion on item 28.
So moved. Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Present.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 6 ayes, 1 present, and item 28 is approved. Continuing on to other business. We are going to be holding our public hearing this evening related to the proposed budget for the city of Highland Park, a home rule municipality, county of Lakes, state of Illinois, for fiscal year 2022, pursuant to chapter 65 of the Illinois compiled statutes and chapter 31 of the Highland Park Code. I hereby call to order the public hearing on the fiscal year 2022 proposed city budget. Pursuant to statute and ordinance, notice of this public hearing was published October 28th, 2021 in the Highland Park News. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilmember Holloman.
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum, and I declare the public hearing on the fiscal year 2022 budget open. I will now turn the public hearing over to City Manager Gita Newkirk and Finance Director Julie Logan for the budget presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Director Logan is sharing our screen in one moment. So this PowerPoint presentation will be posted on our website. First and foremost, I want to express our great appreciation to all of you, Mayor and City Council, for your significant amount of time that you spend on the budget development process. We have had countless meetings, public workshops. We have had one-on-one conversations. We have had one-on-one meetings, and your policy feedback that really started in the spring of this year and continued throughout the year is absolutely critical to the success of this overall budget process. And then special thanks certainly to Director Logan. I get emails from her at 3:00 in the morning during budget development time. And as you can see on the next slide, again, we start this process in the spring. So it's a long process. It's a significant amount of hard work, and especially on top of managing our community in a pandemic and everything else going on, there's been a significant amount of work. And then special thanks to our exceptional staff as well. What we tell every employee in this organization is fiscal management is everybody's responsibility. You don't have to have manager behind your title. You don't have to be in the finance department. Everyone has an opportunity to have a positive impact on this organization by making recommendations of how we can operate more efficiently and more effectively. And we welcome that feedback really throughout the year. So this budget process, as indicated, started in the spring. There is this budget schedule is posted on the city's website. The public hearing this evening only includes about 10 slides because, again, we have had countless very comprehensive conversations throughout this entire time period. And we always welcome public feedback and certainly city council feedback as well. So if individuals are watching this meeting and they have any questions about the city's budget priorities, what projects, endeavors that we're planning to undertake, or any aspect of the budget process, they are welcome to contact us at any time. I'm going to turn it over to Director Logan at this time, and then we're happy to entertain any questions you may have and certainly answer any questions from the public.
Mayor and City Council members, as Gita mentioned, we are nearing the end of the budget process, and we only have a few slides to share tonight, and there's nothing new to share tonight. These are the information has been well vetted by the City Council and includes all of the input that the City Council has given to the process along the way. So from that perspective, we'll just kind of do a review during the public hearing of the information that we have talked about in all the various budget workshops. We start out here with some highlights of the budget. The 2022 proposed budget includes a balanced operating budget with operating revenues expected to exceed operating expenditures by $14 million. The city defines a balanced budget is when its operating revenues meet or exceed the operating expenditures. Proposed operating revenue of $81 million is expected to be 2% higher than 2021. Proposed capital improvements of $25 million are for infrastructure, facilities, and equipment, including $8 million for a new fire station in the Ravinia district. Proposed capital funding is from a combination of operating revenue, grants, debt financing, and $1.3 million of strategic fund drawdowns of excess reserves pursuant to city-approved finance policy. The charts at the top of this slide show the trend of the city's revenue on total and operating revenue over the last few years. 2022 operating revenue of $81 million is expected to be 2% higher than 2021, and 2021 is expected to be 7% higher than 2020. The most significant operating changes from year 2020 through year 2022 are for the city's general, multimodal transportation, water, and sewer fund sales tax, payment in lieu, government grants, reimbursements, charges for services, property tax, business tax, building permits, and transit revenue. 2022 total revenue of $101 million is expected to be 3% lower than 2021, although 2021 is expected to be 21% higher than 2020. The charts at the bottom of the page show where the proposed revenue is sourced from and which funds it is sourced into. The revenue sources demonstrate the city's policy of retaining diversified revenue sources to keep the cost of city services as low as possible to the property taxpayer. There are several assumptions supporting the city's proposed revenue. The 2021 estimate and the 2022 budget proposed operating revenue reflect current estimates within an improving yet still evolving pandemic economy. The city continues to monitor revenue trends for changes versus expectations every month, and future amendment may be required as the economy continues to evolve. In addition to the operating impacts discussed on the previous slide, non-recurring revenue is impacted by debt proceeds of $5 million and $18 million to refinance existing debt in years 2020 and 2021. That resulted in $2 million of savings over 10 years. There's also new debt of $12.5 million expected in year 2022 to finance the new Ravinia Fire Station, as well as street improvements and sewer improvements. The city's property tax levy is expected to be approximately 8% of the residents' total property tax bill. The city reviews taxes and fees annually during this budget process to ensure that these fees and taxes are fair, comparable to other communities, and support the city's continuing high level of service. The 2022 budget includes changes for property taxes, the water rate, taxi licenses, coliform fee, certified vital records fees, and certain parking citations. 2022 proposed expenditures are expected to be $102.5 million. 76% of city expenditures are dedicated to public safety and public works services. And given that most city expenditures are related to the provision of services to residents, 54% of expenditures are for personnel costs and for contractual services. Additionally, 25% is for capital improvements, 13% for transfers between funds, and 8% is for debt service and other operating costs. And of course, there are several assumptions supporting the proposed expenditures. Staffing is budgeted at 259 full-time equivalent employees. This is 8.8 FTE greater than 2021, although still 18 FTE lower than 2020, when the city reduced headcount by 10%, which was 26.8 FTE. Operating expenditures are expected to be approximately $159,000 higher. These changes reflect a conservative increase in service and staffing following the prior year staffing and other cost reductions due to the city's economic response plan to the negative impact of the pandemic on city revenue. There are other personnel variances that are consistent with the city's compensation plan, collective bargaining requirements, and anticipated higher insurance costs due to national market insurance trends. Capital expenditures of $25 million are for infrastructure, facilities, and equipment, including the $8 million for the Ravinia Fire Station. And then lastly, transfers of $13 million are for public safety pensions, capital improvements, and reimbursements from the Water, Enhanced 911, and Sustainability funds to the general fund for related expenditures that are budgeted for in that fund. This chart illustrates the roll forward of expected fund balances from the beginning to the end of 2022. Total fund balances at the end of 2022 are projected at almost $46 million, with the general fund projected at almost $28 million. Strategic fund drawdowns of excess reserves in several funds, netting $1.3 million, are proposed to fund capital improvements pursuant to city-approved finance policy. Fund balance meet or exceed the city's fund balance targets, except for the Housing Trust Fund, which is strategically proposed below target, followed by fund balance replenishment in the following years. Fund balances in excess of target have been accumulated in expectation of capital improvements planned in the city's 10-year capital improvement program. And all funds approach the city fund balance targets by the end of the 10-year capital improvement period. The city is nearing the end of the 2022 budget process. City Council will consider the 2022 budget on November 22nd with a public hearing for the 2021 tax levy. And finally, the City Council will consider the 2021 tax levy on December 13th.
Terrific. Thank you very much for an incredible summary of a very challenging budget, and appreciate the chance to have these conversations basically since April. Hard to believe, and I apologize in advance. I actually have two questions. I'm not sure why they haven't come up prior to today. And so I'm going to ask them not for an answer this evening, but just at some point going forward. Here they are. So the first one, we've talked a bit about the parking fund balance, the detrimental impact, obviously, of the pandemic on the use of public transit, and how we've depended on commuters basically funding a vast majority of our parking fund. So at some point down the road, not tonight, would love to have that conversation put on a committee of the whole agenda as we sort of noodle what we're going to do going forward. I mean, hopefully this thing's going to end at some point, but we may have to come up with alternative resources to address the parking. And then my second one is, we know the rate of inflation, especially for building materials, has been variable and impactfully increasing over this pandemic, along with the supply chain issues and so forth. So curious to know how we're going to address potentially dramatic inflation in the SIP plan heading into another 365 days with a really awesome and ambitious plan to invest in our infrastructure. And I recognize the piece dealing with the fire station is its own beast, and we just talked about all of that. But for the remainder of this plan, and I want people to recognize, we for decades did not address inflation, and as a result, you saw diminished investment into the infrastructure, and we are now still playing catch up all these years later. So just want to know, A, how we're going to address it in the near term, and then B, sort of how do we plan for this going forward if these issues continue in the economy?
We'll certainly come back to the City Council to discuss both of those items. And in fact, for the first one, for the parking fund, staff did mention in the budget that that definitely is something that that we will be taking a deep dive on in 2022 across several departments, because it's not just going to be police looking at it or public works or finance. It's definitely going to need to be a collective effort to decide what the appropriate future long-term sustainability funding of that fund is. We will definitely come back on both of those issues.
And do we also know, and I should know this, but as the state pivots towards incentivizing more electric vehicles, obviously the motor fuel tax as a revenue source is also going to diminish. So do we have a sense yet of any discussion about replacing those resources? And if not, that'll be question number 3. So thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the city council?
Mayor, there is a hand raised from the public whenever you're ready.
Sure.
Okay. David Schwartz.
Sorry, it was I had missed our hearing, and I was just trying to double check that you guys had done it. I had the time for the hearing down wrong, so I apologize. But thank you guys for your time, and I understand 425 Bloom did pass earlier. Is that correct? So
Yes, it did.
all right, thank you. Sorry about that.
No
okay.
worries. Thanks for joining us. Any other questions from either the council or from the public regarding our budget? Okay, I will now entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. The public hearing is closed. Any individuals who are unable to attend this evening's public hearing may submit written comments to the attention of the city finance director. The city council will consider an ordinance adopting the fiscal year 2022 annual budget and related items at our next meeting, November 22nd, 2021. Looking forward to that. And again, Julie, hats off for a terrific job. Thank you. Much appreciated.
As always.
Absolutely. Okay, continuing on with our agenda for this evening, is there any business from the council? Hearing none, any business from city staff?
Just one reminder, Mayor, to the public. I want to remind everyone that we are in the process of updating the city's business development strategic plan. Public input as part of this important initiative is very important for the success of the document. We have coordinated 13 different focus groups. We have had 2 in-person meetings where we have invited the public to come meet with us and provide their feedback. And the balance of these meetings are being held virtually. So if individuals are interested in meeting with us virtually to provide feedback, please go to the city's website and sign up for one of the focus groups. The city's current business development strategic plan is also available on our website. So we invite you to review that document. And if you're not able to attend one of these 13 meetings, please email us or contact us at any time, as we very much welcome everyone's input. And then we are coordinating a special meeting of the Business Development Advisory Group on December 7th at 6 p.m. That agenda and the meeting link for that perhaps a virtual meeting will be posted on the city's website. At that meeting, we are going to be sharing with the advisory group the compiled feedback that we've received from the public and obtaining feedback from the advisory group as well. And then all that information, as well as a proposed draft of the plan, will be shared with the city council at a future committee of the whole meeting for your feedback and input before final adoption. That is it at this time.
Good. So at this point, I'm seeking a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
Second.
Call the vote.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. We stand adjourned. I am now going to call to order the committee of the whole meeting for the City Council of Highland Park, Illinois, November 8th, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilmember Holloman.
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum, and Continuing on, we will not be approving the minutes from the October 25th meeting tonight. They'll be available at our next meeting. Under scheduled business, we are going to hear an update about the Enjoy Highland Park campaign. And before we jump into that, I just want to give a shout out to our team for a great event this weekend, Light the Night, and Carolyn and Amanda and Rob Sabo and a cast were seeking information from the public, and they were probably the most popular part after Santa Claus of the whole gathering. So much appreciated in terms of gathering information from the public. Thank you. Okay, we will turn it over to Geeta. Amanda, who's going to kick us off this evening?
Great. Thank you, Mayor. So I'll introduce Amanda Civitel as our communications manager, and we've also promoted Carolyn Hirsch, our business development manager. So Amanda is going to walk through a PowerPoint presentation that she has prepared to give an update of the city's marketing and communication efforts for the last quarter. And then we have a special surprise to share with the public as well.
All right. Thank you, Geeta. And good evening, Mayor and City Council. Let me see if I can get my screen share going. Here we go. So hopefully you are looking, are you seeing my speaker notes, or are you seeing the presentation itself?
We can see your notes.
Oh, that's the wrong one. I apologize. Let me try this again. There we go. All right, because I have some numbers, you need to see them at the full size. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share some information about our Enjoy Highland Park campaign. While I have been voted the spokesperson for this effort, this really is a group project managing Highland Agency, which is our PR agency that's been tasked with this project. So Rob Sabo and Carolyn Hirsch are both here, and they are welcome to jump in if they have anything they'd like to add. As Geeta said, tonight we want to give you an overview of the campaign, review our first quarter reporting, and also look ahead to some plans that we have for the new year. All right. And it should advance, hopefully. There we go. All right, so for those of you joining us for whom this is the first you're hearing of this campaign, which I hope it's not, the Enjoy Highland Park campaign launched during the summer in an effort to position the city as a regional destination for shopping and dining. Instead of investing in print advertising, we redirected those funds to this digital campaign that uses social media to build a network of engaged followers and advertising to reach those who aren't already connected to our community. So through this campaign, we're hoping to build awareness of our business districts, highlight the breadth of shops, restaurants, and other businesses throughout the city. We also launched a presence on Instagram and created a new visitor-friendly Facebook page. And all of this was intended to be driven by a series of videos that were social media friendly and showcased Highland Park's business community. To ensure the success of the campaign, we did engage Highland Agency, who City Council met and heard from back in June. They are a widely respected, results-driven PR and social media marketing firm focused on lifestyle and tourism. So that's a little bit about the campaign. Because the scope of our project outpaced the budget, it was important for us to delineate the responsibilities between agency and city staff. So you see a breakdown of that here. Campaign was divided pretty much with the social media responsibility falling with Highland Agency and the campaign branding and website falling with city staff. In addition to what you see listed here, city staff worked with business owners throughout Highland Park to make sure that they were connected to the campaign, participating actively in the work that we're doing. And I should say, if you are not already following us, you can find us at Enjoy Highland Park, anywhere you connect socially with other people. So one thing I'd like to say before we dive into these metrics is that this is an awareness building campaign. So in terms of measuring success, we're looking at our overall impressions. So our posts being placed in news feeds, and engagement rate. Are people interacting with what we post? Because we're not able to track the impact of our specific campaign on overall sales, we are tracking engagement. And to that end, we're really pleased with what we've seen so far, both in the reporting from the agency and from the feedback we've received from members of the community. Our engagement rate at 5% on Facebook and 7% on Instagram is well above brand average. You can kind of estimate that at between 1 to 3% on Facebook. One thing to note here, we are tracking our engagement rate based on impressions because this is a paid campaign and you pay for placement by impression. So impressions are the number of times that a post was served in someone's newsfeed. So they're not unique people. They're the number of times it was served. So our strong engagement rate gives us a lot of encouragement because it indicates that content is resonating with our audience. Because they're taking action on our posts. They might be liking, commenting, or sharing, or they're clicking our link clicks. So one thing that we've really been focusing on over the past month in October was driving traffic, whether that's to the city's enjoyhighlandpark.com website or to individual businesses. And in October, both comments and link clicks more than doubled from the previous month. Page likes continue to increase. So content originating on the Enjoy Highland Park page is what we're focusing on in this report. So if you aren't already, you can follow the city at Enjoy Highland Park and also at Highland Park IL, both on Facebook. Our Enjoy Highland Park page is where we're posting the bulk of the content from this campaign. And you can still find important news and updates from the city at Highland Park IL. So that said, our metrics indicate a strong performance in October, despite a decreased ad spend, which is really encouraging for us because it shows that our follower base is increasingly engaged. So even when we walked back some of that ad spending that we did in September or August, we were still able to post gains in our target metrics. And one thing I wanted to call attention to in particular, it's not on this chart, but our link clicks represented 18% of all engagements during October. So again, clicks to businesses' social pages, their websites, our Enjoy Highland Park website. And this is something that we really wanted to see grow. We wanted to see link clicks represent an increasing share of our overall engagements because they weigh more than just reactions like when you like or heart a post in a Facebook algorithm. So by increasing our link clicks and our comments, the content that we post is more likely to turn up in our followers' news feeds. In addition, we are very pleased that the average cost per click for the campaign so far is below the general Facebook average and below the tourism industry average. Looking over to Instagram. Instagram is a new social network for us. We had an account that we weren't previously using until we started focusing on it this summer. On Instagram, our top performing posts typically include either video, such as our business owner interviews, short form city video, or the long form video that I hope you've seen across your social media. And they also are posts that feature businesses that have existing engaged networks. Since bringing Heron on board, we have added over 1,000 Instagram followers. And our October reporting, which is our most recent month, indicates an increase in engagements and link clicks on the links in our profile. So we actually switch out the link in our profile based on the post or the campaign that we're running. So it's not always a click over to Enjoy Highland Park. It might be to another website. To help maximize the impact of our social media campaign, we've been promoting it in different ways. You've probably seen it pop up in our e-news. We've been cross-posting to the city's website, cross-posting to the city's Facebook page. But more importantly, we've been reaching out directly to our businesses. And I think in business development, Melissa Rosen deserves a shout out on this one because she has been reaching out to businesses who are featured on our social media as part of the campaign to give them advice for how they can connect with our posts and help our campaign be more successful, help their business be more successful. So again, Enjoy Highland Park on both Facebook and Instagram if you're not already following us. So video is at the heart of this campaign. And what you see here is a summary of our video performance on Facebook. I think the most important thing to note, you see that big orange circle there. That really highlights the extent to which Facebook is a pay-to-play environment. Overwhelmingly, our video views originate through paid, not organic, newsfeed or like Facebook Watch placement and autoplays. So to maximize our investment in video, which again isn't just production of the video, it's also these ad placement. We are focusing on providing a mix of video content that's engaging and shareable in different ways. So we have those short interviews with business owners. We have slideshows that feature different businesses that might capitalize on a national day, like National Red Wine Day or something, so that people really see the breadth of Highland Park's business community. One thing that I would like to call attention to, if you haven't had a chance to watch these short videos, I think they're really a good marketing tool, not just because they've been successful in driving our traffic, but because of the actual content. When you watch these short videos, you'll see business owners identify what it is about Highland Park that sets it apart as a place where they wanted to build a business. These have been successful, I think, because they're resonating on a more personal level with our audience. And certainly with us as staff, it's great to hear what sets us apart and makes us special. Oh, whoops, sorry. There we go. So turning briefly to our website. So overall, we have been really pleased with website traffic during our content build out. You may remember that we launched enjoyhighlandpark.com with minimal base content to align with the release of our first teaser video, which was in mid-late July. We felt that it was really important to have this dedicated web presence for the campaign's soft launch, but knew we had to do more to build it out. So since then, we've created a number of different sections. You see some of them here, as well as our splashy Celebrate the Holidays with Us feature. I would like to recognize EDAG for their invaluable feedback. We actually reviewed the website with them live in a meeting, and they had so many great ideas that we're working to implement. One of those you see here is adding a call to action on our homepage and adding a video. If you scroll down on the website, you'll see an embedded video. If you are interested in what people are looking at when they come to the Enjoy Highland Park website, they are looking at two things: special events and dining. The dining index alone is 14% of all the hits to our Enjoy Highland Park website. And so we're really looking at optimizing those pages to make them more engaging, more useful for the visitors who visit enjoyhighlandpark.com. Because we're building this out as the campaign is progressing, you see some of our goals for the remainder of 2021. The first thing I want to call attention to is reducing our bounce rate. So our bounce rate, you can see on the chart, is 71%. That is really high. That's the number, that's the percentage of sessions where users don't have any interaction with your website page. We want to reduce that. So in October, we implemented some design changes, and we saw a 14% drop in our bounce rate over the prior period. So that's really encouraging for us. What you are seeing is an average of July through October 31st. So our numbers for October are, like I said, 14% lower and within range for a target bounce rate. We think we can get that down lower. Other things just to notice, we are looking forward to partnering with community organizations on our calendars so that the calendar, if you go to enjoyhighlandpark.com/calendar, you'll be able to see more than just the city sponsored events, which is what we have there right now. We also want to build out the Enjoy Highland Park blog and really tie that in with the Heart of the Holidays promotion. So our upcoming holiday season events, we think will be a great driver for that content. All in all, we'll be focusing on opportunities for cross-promotion across different platforms. And that's why you frequently see the same content repurposed in different ways wherever you follow the city. So speaking of different platforms, let's take a look at email. So email has historically been a high-performing communications channel for the city. And honestly, in 2020, driven by the pandemic, we nearly tripled our send volume and still increased our average open and click rates. We're on track to finish 2021 with only slight declines from that pandemic peak. So we know that email is a channel that's worth investing in. So in 2022, we plan to launch a monthly email digest highlighting upcoming events and Highland Park businesses and promotions for a general audience. So right now we include that information in our e-news, but if you're a visitor to Highland Park or someone who's been to one of our events and is excited to learn more about what we do, you want to keep abreast of different festivals or other happenings, you aren't interested in the other information that we're sharing that's specific to people who call this community home. So similar to what we did on Facebook, we're looking at spinning off a monthly digest that will provide those subscribers with that information. Subscribers to the city's general e-news will still receive it, as well as subscribers of our business development e-news. Although for our reporting purposes, we'll keep everything segmented. We are going to prepare for that launch for the remainder of 2021 by running an email sign-up campaign on social media. And if you are not already signed up for city emails, you can do that at cityhpil.com/signup and enjoyhighlandpark.com. So with all this in mind, I think our staff team has been very pleased by the quality of work we've seen from Heron Agency. I hope the content that you've seen on social media has impressed you as well. With increased reach on social, strong engagement rates that are well above average, and a wide variety of video, photo, and editorial content, we feel that they've really captured what sets us apart and have been successful in marketing us to a wider audience. That said, they are not the only social media marketing campaign that's been running to promote Highland Park this summer and fall. So the Ravinia District SSA 17, which works with Ripple Public Relations to manage their marketing, ran a really successful events-focused campaign this summer. And we've included this information here because we feel it's important to give you a full picture of all of these different marketing efforts that are occurring here in the city, and also demonstrate the value of investing in paid social. So they ran a campaign in support of Food Truck Thursdays, as well as other seasonal events. It's been expanded beyond Food Truck Thursdays because Food Truck Thursdays was so successful, to broadcast those events to a broad regional audience. And they did that by running an events-focused campaign. They leveraged boosted Facebook events and user-generated content like the pictures you take and you post and tag us in, to promote their seasonal events. So to take a look at their reporting, which again is from a different agency, I know that the SSA and the city were both really pleased with what they saw. I should note that this is not a one-to-one comparison with the Enjoy Highland Park metrics reported earlier, so not really beneficial to compare them in that way. As an event-driven campaign, this particular campaign devoted the bulk of its budget to ad placements, and Facebook algorithms treat events a little differently from posts. But the principles are the same. This was a hugely successful social media campaign with a really high engagement rate. And I think it benefited from a strong content mix. They also had a couple viral posts that were progressively boosted to maximize their impact. And Ripple is going to continue to follow this successful campaign with additional investments in social media marketing for their fall events calendar. And you see some of what worked well for them here. It's very similar to what we're doing as part of Enjoy Highland Park, which is great because we're looking at the same mix of content types. But you are seeing the impact of having a budget that is primarily directed towards the ad placements and not necessarily towards content generation. So with that in mind, let's take a look at where Enjoy Highland Park is going next. So here's an overview of what we're looking at for November and December. You see highlights of our upcoming social and video strategy here. We are focusing our efforts on promoting the 4 Heart of the Holidays city-sponsored events, which I have mentioned before, so hopefully you'll allow me a little digression just to tell you what that is. So the Heart of the Holidays events will provide the community with a lineup of entertainment in downtown Highland Park on the 4 Saturdays between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so November 27th, December 4th, 11th, and 18th. We'll host seasonal music, holiday characters, roaming carolers, sweet treats, and Port Clinton Swear, with the goal being to draw attention to Highland Park's distinctive small business community during the prime shopping season. We want to encourage visitors from throughout the Chicago area to celebrate the Heart of the Holidays and the Heart of the North Shore. And more information, as you might expect, is available at enjoyhighlandpark.com. In addition to that promo campaign, we're also planning to continue leveraging our videos for traffic to businesses and to our website, just as Heron has successfully done over the past few months. Our secondary goals are also listed here, kind of thinking about the traffic to the website in general, and also laying the foundation for that 22 email marketing campaign. Per our agreement with Karen, we will produce another long form video, which, as you can see, will focus on cozy winter themes like self-care and wellness, comfort foods. And they will continue to produce the short form videos, the interviews with business owners that have been so successful for us throughout the campaign thus far. And with that said, I will attempt to share the right screen and premiere our newest video for you. So we'll see if we can make this one work. Let's see. Hopefully it'll work. Here we go.
We need the sound.
Oh, there's no sound?
No sound.
I'm not sure why it's not playing the sound. I'm hearing it. Make it louder. This will be on the website at enjoyhighlandpark.com too.
Sound. No sound.
No sound? I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why the sound is playing.
We'll presume that it's peaceful.
It sounds really good.
But look at these images. They're beautiful.
They really are.
They are.
Amanda, you may want to, on the screen share, click share my computer audio.
Okay.
That should push it out. It's on the bottom left when you hit share screen.
I did not know that. Oh,
There we go.
well, that was okay. Thanks, Rob.
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you. Well, we hope you enjoyed that little glimpse into a day in Highland Park. And so wherever your day in Highland Park's businesses start, we hope that you will snap some photos, tag us at Enjoy Highland Park or at Ravinia District, depending on where you are, for a chance to be featured on our social media. Let us know the places that matter most to you. And thank you so much for your attention. And with that, our Enjoy Highland Park team will be happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
Great job. Great job. Thank you. Councilmember Holloman.
Yeah, I just want to extend my congratulations and thanks to Amanda and all of you, because I'm hearing words like goals, metrics, video, things that like we haven't heard ever in the past. And so you guys have done a fantastic job. We gave you like no budget and said, well, show us what you can do. And you did exactly that. So thank you. And I think you've done an amazing job with this partnership, and just wanted to say it's all very exciting. So nice work.
Great. Thank you. Annette.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you both personally and on behalf of just about everybody I spoke to on Saturday at Light the Night, because we just had a great time. The flash mob dancers have begged to come back again to another Saturday event because they had so much fun that they want to do it again. I think you brought in every age group. I think you really looked to a lot of different groups, and I think that really showed in the event and the success of it. I would like to know more about the numbers, because I do think what you showed us for Ravinia Business District was incredibly powerful in terms of numbers and hits and follow-up. And having been at several of the Thursday night events, the only thing I would say that was more crowded than this Saturday was Thursday night food truck days. And so I think clearly you're making a real splash, and that's wonderful. I like that people are looking to the website to say, hey, is it going to happen this Thursday night? You know, and is it going to happen on a Saturday afternoon? And there was a lot of buzz, and I think that's really important. And I think that the council needs to, we need to know that that buzz is going on there. both as much as what we're seeing and hearing, and as well as with your data in terms of what you're showing on Facebook and on Instagram. I would like to know whether, with more and more events being put into it, whether in fact that will raise our numbers for Enjoy Highland Park as high as we saw with the Ravinia Business District. And I'm wondering if as many storekeepers and people in downtown Highland Park are contributing, as I know are contributing in the Ravinia Business District, because maybe that's one of the ways to increase those numbers and those hits. So thank you so much for all you've done. I think it's a really, really positive and successful program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So that's a great question. So the interesting thing about the Ravinia District campaign is that it's different from ours, like I said, in that the bulk of the budget was dedicated toward those ad placements. So they were working with a larger ad budget than we have for this project. They were boosting those events at a higher rate than we're able to boost our posts, given our budget, because our budget is split between content generation and ad placement. So that those funds that we were directing towards print advertising that we then redirected to social isn't just going to the social ads, it's going to the agency that's producing this content for us, whether it's the photo library, the video library, the content development that they're doing for us as far as our monthly social calendar. So the budget is split a little more, and it was smaller to begin with when it comes to the amount that we have just for those ad placements. The other thing that I think should be noted is that, they were boosting Facebook events, which work a little bit differently from Facebook posts. The Facebook algorithm runs those differently. So you do see some discrepancies in reporting. It's really not a one-to-one comparison from events to posts. So I think you are right on the money when you say that now that we have a full calendar of events to promote, will we see even higher metrics from Enjoy Highland Park? I think we absolutely will, because we'll be doing more of the work that we've already seen was successful in the Ravinia District. And I think you saw the impact of that at the Food Truck Thursdays events. Having that ad investment, I think, was really important in bringing back these events for, their post-pandemic year. And it also opened us up to a new audience. One of the exciting things in listening to Ripple report on the success of that campaign was how they had focused on residents in neighboring communities. So I think, because it's a different type of campaign, I think it's not necessarily the most instructive thing to compare the two sets of raw numbers, but I think you are absolutely right that approach is working, and that when we are able to implement that here on Enjoy Highland Park, we'll see similar results. Maybe not as high because we don't have quite the same budget for these events, but certainly a bump.
Great. Thank you. Andres?
Yeah, I too share the enthusiasm for the high quality, the attractiveness and creativity of the campaign, as well as the metrics, loving the metrics. And I like the quantitative side. I actually am interested in qualitative metrics, like just sound bites you're getting from the shop owners or the restaurant, even residents. I mean, just kind of what's, you talk about buzz, but what have you been hearing? And since this is the beginning of, this campaign, and you're going to do the holiday thing and other things that are behind it, you're creating a cadence, right? That I've talked to several friends and neighbors that are liking the cadence. They like the fact, oh, that was fun, but I'm looking forward to the next 4 things, and they can kind of plan their family around it, right? So, but going back to the qualitative comments, like, what are you hearing in terms of, is there some rising enthusiasm for what you're doing or what's coming? What's the buzz there?
Well, I think maybe I will defer to Carolyn on this one, since she is our primary liaison with business owners. I think what's come to me has been really positive, and I know Carolyn probably hears more of that than I do. So, Carolyn, do you want to jump in, or otherwise I can speak more generally to the feedback we've heard?
Well, that's the feedback that I've received is the same as yours, and it's been extremely positive. And for example, the Alliance can't wait till we fully roll this out. And they're excited to be part of this program as well. And businesses are very excited about it. They couldn't believe how many people were on the street this past weekend, and they look forward to through Christmas.
Yeah, I think thinking back to some of the feedback we heard from guests at Light the Night about Coffee Speaks and seeing the business owners pop out of their store to come see the event, see all the people milling around. I think it's been really rewarding to see the way that we can use these events to leverage traffic at our businesses and maybe raise the profile of some of those businesses that people haven't visited before.
And it's nice to see, I'll just add, it's nice to see the rolling energy. So, you know, we started this Enjoy Highland Park, and now we're seeing more and more people talk about it and tag it and share. And so we've certainly asked our Business and Economic Development Advisory Group as our business ombudsman, hey, please go out there, talk about how great our business is, encourage people to kind of shop, dine, take advantage of everything that Highland Park has to offer. And we've certainly seen all of you, you know, do the hashtag Enjoy Highland Park and tag as well. And so the more that we can get people to do that, it's this rolling high energy and positive marketing that's being created.
So, and I had a follow-up metrics question. So what are the possibilities then to do the harder capture of, you know, how much this will have impacted, you know, greater shopping or greater attendance from out-of-town visitors as well as residents? I know that's hard to get at. I know we have limited staff, but is there something in the works that you say, this is the one or two key metrics that we're looking at, that if this campaign is really generating the business uptake, that's the indicator that we're hoping to see? What would that be?
So Carolyn, you can feel free to jump in and correct me, but as I understand it, the reporting on the state sales tax lags by a quarter. So we've only just been able to see sales tax receipts for the period ending in July, Carolyn, if I'm remembering this right. So that would be one thing that we could do in order to try and see that hard impact, would be to look at those sales tax receipts and see, was there an increase? We wouldn't be able to tie it specifically to this campaign. So, and that's the hard thing about what's essentially an awareness campaign, is that there really aren't conversions for us to track. We can't set those goals and then, you know, see if we're meeting them and tweak the strategy accordingly. So I think that's where, now that we've established the campaign, we've done that groundwork. Now we can start looking at our metrics on a comparative basis and see what does our growth look like? Looking at growth month to month doesn't really give you much insight right now because the growth has been so astronomical. That's why you didn't hear us saying month to month comparisons, except in a few instances. So I think we'll be able to see that growth in our own metrics now that we have a strong baseline that we can compare to. I do think that the only way we could see gauge the hard impact of the campaign would be either anecdotal responses from business owners who can say, hey, I credit the campaign with increased foot traffic in my store. People have been talking about the video when I've mentioned it to them, or in looking at the sales tax receipts.
And Councilmember Tapia, if I can add on just one other additional point, as part of the business development strategic plan update, we are also exploring what types of software systems exist out there that can track that kind of movement. And we know that site selectors are typically using that type of system that allows them to ascertain where are people coming from and what is movement like. And so we're exploring those options as well. And we can't necessarily tie that type of data directly to our social media data, but if we're seeing that we're getting a lot more movement into the community from a specific area, from outside of the community, we can maybe anecdotally somehow try to put together those assumptions that maybe one led to the other. But we are definitely exploring that as part of our update going into the future years.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, terrific. Great job. Thank you. Let us know what else we can do. Everybody share everything, right? Thank you. Awesome. Okay. I think that is it for scheduled business in the open session. So I am seeking a motion to go into closed session for purposes of discussing collective bargaining and pending litigation.
So moved, Mayor, to go into closed session to discuss collective bargaining pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2 and to discuss pending litigation pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C11. We will not be addressing closed session minutes tonight.
Right.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Stolberg. Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer. Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. We will be going into our closed session, which is a separate link. See you momentarily.